so screencast back on. So we're going to go ahead and make our little greenify file. Last but not least, touch greenify. Okay, cool. No, that's not what I want. Yep, that is what I wanted. All right. So let me fix the display real quick. There we go. All right. I didn't create greenify. Why? Oh, yep. All right, cool. So we've got our index, our greenify.js, and our script.js. So for right now, we're going to just ignore our greenify.js file. So first things first is we're going to take all of this HTML and copy it into our index file. So very simple. We're going to have an H1 that says make a div, an H2 that says make them green, and an H3 that says add a green div. So these are kind of like these are almost like buttons. We're going to basically we're going to be adding click functionality to each of these divs. All right. And then you'll see we're calling jQuery, or we're using the jQuery CDN, and then we're calling our greenify script file, and then finally our script.js file. We'll get into like why I guess hopefully you guys probably know the order to this already, but we'll get into a little bit more like why the order is so important. Cool. Any questions on this so far? Pretty basic HTML file. All right. So first things first, in our script.js, we're going to add this function. Can anyone tell me what this is doing? Yeah, Matt.
It's telling it that whatever jQuery it's a page, this is the page first, and then run the jQuery.
The document.ready?
Right.
Yep. And then within document.ready, what's going on here? Yeah, Kyra. No, it's cool. No worries, no worries.
One click in that H1 function, you're going to put in there the jQuery plugins are cool. So you're going to attach an H1 into the body of the document.
Close. So actually it's going to be when we click on an H1. So back in our index file, we have this H1 already, right? So when we click on this H1, it's going to then add a div that has jQuery plugins are cool at the bottom, right? So let's just try that out real quick, make sure that everything's working. So make a div, and there we go. Lots jQuery plugins are cool. So that's exciting. Nothing too special there. All right, so next. So now we're going to get into a little bit more code here. Let me blow this up a tiny bit. Cool. Does everyone see that fine? It's pretty big. So now this is going to be in place of what we just pasted into our script file. Can anybody take a look at sort of this beginning here? Can someone remind me what it's called when we have like these parentheses outside of the function and then an immediate call? Sort of hinted at it there. I'm going to go with someone else real quick. Sorry, Matt. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Cool. And so passing this jQuery in here, what is that doing again? Yeah, so nothing else like kind of errors into that $sign, right? Yeah, cool, exactly. All right, so let's go ahead and copy this in. So kind of continuing on that same theme, the $.fn.greenify. Can anyone remember what that's doing? Let's get someone from like this side of the room. Maybe row 2.
What's the question?
What is our $.fn doing here?
Calling the fn. It's calling the function.
Yeah, kind of. So, yeah, Max.
Setting it to the prototype.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. So it's basically telling it that it's adding this greenify function to the jQuery prototype. Does that make sense, everyone?
Can you say that?
Yeah, so actually I wrote it up here before. I'll write it a little bigger somewhere else. So $.fn this is the same thing as doing jQuery dot prototype.
And what is jQuery prototype?
So jQuery, it's similar to like prototypes within objects, right? So when you guys are doing one of your homework assignments, like the geometry homework, right? So you're adding in like geometry.prototype.area, right? So you're adding in like an area function as part of the prototype of your geometry object. Similar, same thing here. So jQuery is an object on its own. So by doing jQuery.prototype, you're then adding here, this is essentially saying jQuery.prototype.greenify. So you're now adding a greenify method to that jQuery prototype that already exists. And so the reason you can do this here is because it's exactly what we have here. So this is why we're passing in our jQuery. So jQuery is being passed in as a $, and then the $sign here is taking the place of that jQuery object. Does that make sense?
jQuery is automatically an object, so it's not like vanilla JavaScript where you literally have to define the constructor or whichever.
Well, so jQuery is something that's been defined already, right? So that's when you download it from the internet or when you call it in a CDN. That's something that someone else built, but it's built as an object of methods. Yeah. Yep. So now, here we're going. Right now, what this is saying is anytime you call .greenify, it's going to turn something green, right? It says this.css color green. Pretty simple, right? So whatever you click on that has .greenify, it's going to change this to be green. So let's go ahead and give that a try as well. So what happens when I click on this first H1 here? Yeah. Not quite, not green yet. So if we go back to the code, this is a trick question, I'm sorry. But if we go back to the code, the H1 here is just appending the div, but greenify isn't called on it. If I called greenify here, then it would return a green div. But instead, if we click H2, this is saying, now make that div green. So you'll see here, it turned green. That's kind of hard to see, but yep. So now it's saying anything, when you click on the H2, which is this make them green, select any div and make them green. So we can make a bunch of these and then click and you'll see they all turn green, right? So pretty simple again. So let's add a little bit more to that. So now let's add a method within that that's called add green div. So what that's going to do is that's going to create its own div that already comes out as green. So instead of like creating a div, hitting the H1, and then turning that div green by clicking on H2, we're going to just make one where as soon as you click on that H3, it's going to give us a green div because who doesn't want green divs on their pages, right? So let's go ahead and pull that in. Are people following along right now? Am I going too fast or are we good? Good? Yeah, question?
Did you just replace all of them?
Yeah, sorry. I took everything and replaced it. We're just building on top of it. Yeah, good question, sorry.
You did what now?
So what I just pasted in was just pasting it on top of whatever we had before. So I removed what we just had and pasted in this new file, or this new code. So now, if I hit add a green div, shockingly, it is going to add a green div. But if I hit make them green, or if I hit make a div, it's still going to give us a black div. Make them green will make them all green. But add a green div will say jQuery plugins are really, really cool, already in green. So you'll see here, this add green div is called on the H3, right? So it's adding a div that's already green. But what we're doing is we're actually linking greenify within its own function, right? So this is where it gets a little bit confusing, and I'll get into that in a second. But basically, we're defining our greenify function within our overall plugin, right? And then we're also creating a new function called add green div that is utilizing that greenify function that we've just defined. So that's where it's coming from when we click on the H3, where the add green div function works, or where the add green div method happens. How's that feel to people? Good? Cool. All right. So what do you guys think would happen if, or I guess, why do you think we have this return this here? Or this return this here? That's a lot of this is. What do you think would happen if I commented out this return? Anything? It would break? Thoughts? Undefined? Yep.
It will stop.
Oh, it'll keep going.
It will stop.
It'll keep working, you mean?
It works. It'll keep.
Tried it out already? All right, I like that. Yeah, so I think you're on the right track there. It will keep working. It won't keep adding divs. No, it actually won't break. Sorry if that's what you mean. It won't keep adding them. Yeah, so it's still just on one click that it'll add something. But if we comment out this return and refresh the right page and hit add a green div, everything still works, right? Make plugin, make them green, add green divs, that's all cool, right? But let's go back. Let's comment out this return. Okay, so the one in the greenify function. Reload the page. Will this work? If I click on make a div. Yeah? Cool. Will this one work? Make a green div.
No.
No? Thoughts? Lots of silence? Yes, no. All right, cool. So let's make them green. It does work. And then if we add a green div, it does not work. Can you think of why? Yeah, question or answer?
Add green div is relying on greenify.
Yeah,
It's relying on return.
yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. So basically this is what we call a chain, or breaking the chain here, right? So when we call greenify, this .css is a side effect. So that's why when we click on that H2, everything still turns green, because it's a side effect. But there's no output now. It's returning undefined. So when we want to add something new, because we're adding this div here and then calling greenify on it, we call that, but it's being returned as undefined afterwards. So it's actually creating a green div, but there's no way to append it because once it's been called, it becomes undefined. It's a bit of a confusing one. Does anyone have any questions on that? So I can show it a little bit clearer actually. If I, whoops. I think this will work. I could just embarrass myself. So I console log new div here, right? So you'll see here when I click on it, it returns undefined. I'm so glad that worked. It returns undefined. So so basically what we're doing here is when we're saying this dot append, this in this function or in this method corresponds to the body. But what we're trying to append is undefined because our this return is giving us undefined when we call it on the hard-coded div. Does that make sense, people? You're slapping your face, Craig. Is that a bad slap or just waking yourself up? All right, cool. All right, fair enough. I know greenify is not the most exciting thing in the world. I understand. I wish I could build planetarium for you in class, but unfortunately, that is just not the option. I at least showed you the demo, so you know. Anyway, so yeah, so this is what we call breaking the chain. A jQuery plugin can be chained, or you can chain different methods within a plugin by returning this. So this is always returning back to the original, like this, that you were acting on. Again, most likely you're not going to be building your own jQuery plugins that often, so this isn't the biggest deal in the world, but it's just kind of an idea, just to get you thinking about sort of this chaining thing, because you might run into this in the future as well. Cool. All right, so since people are looking a little cloudy here, let's go ahead and take a 10-minute break, and then we'll bring it back to class.
I got to work.